Well, this paper is about the genome sequence of the first genome sequence of a seagrass. So the idea really came about because seagrass are such unusual higher plants. They're the only real group of higher plants that have managed to make the evolutionary transition from the land back into the sea. So as you know, plants evolved on the land from groups of algae that originally evolved in the sea and diversified on land. This is the only group really that's been able to make the transition back from a terrestrial environment to the marine environment specifically. The consortium is led by Professor Janine Olsen, who's from the University of Groningen in Netherlands, and she put together basically a consortium of people who have done seagrass research or are interested in seagrass research, together with a very good group of bioinformaticians in the University of Ghent, which is always necessary for genome projects to have that expertise. The sequencing itself was done in the United States in the Joint Genome Institute. I think in putting together these consortiums, people are chosen who have a history of doing some seagrass research, who work in various areas. In my case, more in ecology and maybe phylogeography, population genetics, some work I've been involved in. And so in putting together this consortium, I think what's usually attempted is to get the broadest group of interested partners, because the idea, of course, at the end is that a genome resource like this is used by as many people as possible. Absolutely, yeah, of course. More and more, I guess we're doing, well, you may call it big science, but really it's science that tries to integrate across fields to really address global questions in many cases. In this case, I mean, this seagrass in particular is a global organism. It's distributed from the Arctic Ocean really into southern Portugal, I think is the southern limit, and the Mediterranean Sea. So it's really broadly distributed across the United States, to Japan, and into the Atlantic. So it's a global organism, and so of course there's a global consortium that's interested in the results of this. When you're choosing an organism for a genome project, it's usually an organism that's charismatic, or that it's going to be used by a large group of people, you know, in their research. Well, I guess one I think is a very, very cool thing about the genome is that we knew beforehand. You may know, I hope people will understand that all higher plants on land have stomata. This is how plants breathe. They have little cavities basically in the leaf where gas exchange happens, where they take up carbon dioxide and they release oxygen. Seagrass don't have stomata, and what was very interesting to find in the genome is actually not only this seagrass doesn't have stomata, but it doesn't have the genes to make stomata. So in that sense it's very interesting. It shows that there's no way back, really. Having evolved from a terrestrial environment back into the ocean, there's really no way back for seagrass to come onto land, because they wouldn't be able to function in air, in fact. So that was very interesting. Another interesting thing is a parallel evolution. You could say most marine algae have very specialized cell walls. They have sulfate in their cell walls. And this, having sulfated polysaccharides in your cell wall, means that you can, it facilitates the transfer of ions, of nutrients basically from the seawater to the cell. And higher plants, terrestrial higher plants, don't have these kinds of molecules in their cell wall. But this seagrass does, and it's done it, in fact, by a novel evolutionary pathway. So it's evolved a different set of genes, basically to do the same work. So it makes sulfated polysaccharides in its cell wall, which presumably helps it in nutrient exchanges in the seawater. But it's done it via a novel evolutionary pathway. So that was very interesting to find. This seagrass, the Zostera marina, is quite threatened by global change and also by anthropogenic changes on the coast. Fishing, recreational boating and things tend to destroy seagrass meadows, and actually Zostera is in a big decline in Portugal. And in fact, there is a project ongoing in Sissimar, which is called Biomars, which is trying to restore seagrass meadows in the Rabida Natural Park. And so, yeah, I mean, it's very relevant, really, to some ongoing work here, but more ecological and restoration work. I chose to do marine biology. I was always very interested in the ocean and things to do with marine biology. I guess I grew up near the coast, and I became interested, I guess, in all things marine. So I did marine biology in the University of Liverpool in the UK. I actually grew up in Devon and Cornwall in the southwest of England. I did marine biology in the University of Liverpool, and then I did my PhD in the University of Leeds, which is not very far away from Liverpool, in fact. After that, I moved to the United States, where I did a postdoc in the University of Maine in the northeast of the United States. And while I was there, I met a Portuguese girl, and she brought me back to Portugal, basically. And I've been here ever since. Lovely place to be. So that's me. That's my life, essentially.